Welcome to the Central News, covering your top restaurant and food service news stories for early 2016. I'm Emily Rollins.
And I'm Tracy Allen. Today's top news story.
With large winter storms blasting the U.S., food service industry should be extremely careful when it comes to food safety. Here are 5 tips to keep your food safety crucial during winter storms. 1. Don't open for business if you don't have access to electricity or running water. 2. If you are open, check with suppliers or distributors about how and where they'll make deliveries. 3. Make sure you contain water or debris on snow removal equipment after clearing walkways. 4. Make certain you can access and open the dumpsters. And finally, be aware of where employers store their street clothing and make sure clothes are placed away from food contact surfaces.
The National Restaurant Association's most recent Restaurant Performance Index, which tracks the outlook for the U.S.'s restaurant industry, reported the November index value at 101.3, which is down 0.7%. Any level above 100, though, is steady for the industry, and being the 33rd consecutive month above 100 signifies expansion, says the National Restaurant Association.
What's better than free food? Well, for some, it's a kiss too. Get both when you eat at Qdoba this year for Valentine's Day. The popular Mexican chain is bringing back its Kiss a Person for a Free Entree program. When you get to register at any participating Qdoba on February 14th, all you have to do is share a kiss and you'll get a free entree with a purchase of 1.
Some of 2015's top food trends and stories included all-day breakfast, smoked foods, unique dinnerware, and the elimination of tips. 2016 up-and-coming food trends and topics are out, with several interesting trends that include charred and burned dishes, seaweed, alternative foods for dietary needs, and the growth of local food demand. Menu prices are also predicted to be on the rise in 2016 due to the minimum wage increases, food prices, and customer willingness to pay a premium. Speaking of food trends, we'll now be going to Cody Bell live in the field for his story on the latest in charred food. Cody, can you hear me?
Thanks, Tracy. I'm here on location in the Central Break Room, here to talk about one of 2016's hot food trends, burnt and charred food. You heard correctly. According to a report, people are apparently wanting some charring on their dishes to lend authenticity and freshness. It also brings a smoky, complex, and assertively bitter note to some traditional food, and balances the sugar in drinks and desserts. With this trend on the rise, butane torch sales have increased, with restaurants expanding this technique beyond just creme brulee to vegetables and even cocktails. So remember, next time you burn your bagel, you aren't a bad cook. You're just on the cutting edge of trendiness. Emily and Tracy, back to you in the studio.
After last year's winning Southern biscuits and gravy flavor, Lay's has again introduced 4 new chip flavors in 2016. The 4 flavors are Korean barbecue, smoked Gouda and chive, kettle-cooked olive oil and herbs, and fiery roasted habanero. The new flavors will hit store shelves on February 8th. This promotion will be a part of Lay's Flavor Swap, a competition between older classic flavors and 4 new ones. Be sure to go and vote online for the one you like better. In the end, one will stay and the other will disappear from store shelves forever.
Food prices may be on the rise thanks to effective El Nino, a weather pattern where the winds in the Pacific slow down or reverse direction. Weather changes from El Nino are impacting the entire globe, bringing on excessive rain, drought, fires, and water shortages, leaving diners to pay higher prices for various fruits and vegetables. With this El Nino predicted as one of the most severe in decades, the Wall Street Journal says that farmers are warning of potential damage to their crops.
Eating trends may also change in 2016 due to new dietary guidelines. In a report by Nation's Restaurant News, these guidelines released by the federal government recommend higher consumption of fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and lean meat, and less consumption of saturated fat. Consumers are also more cautious with their sugar intake and are the top item they are trying to avoid in their diet. Consumer trend watchers say changes are not as likely in the short term and would have more long-term effects in terms of eating patterns. Speaking of food trends, we'll now go to Hope Wittig for her story on the latest in healthy food.
According to National Public Radio, The Salt, diets are out and health is in. For years, people have been bombarded by mega diet food brands such as Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, and Lean Cuisine, promising results but not living up to the hype. The diet food industry has recently seen dramatic drops in revenues as individuals have found the programs were not successful for them. Now, it seems that individuals are moving away from the word diet entirely and shifting instead to a lifestyle change of healthy eating. Focus for this healthy eating has been centered on natural foods, which is an important reminder for restaurants as the trend turns into a lifestyle. Industry analysts and nutritionists anticipate a continued emphasis on foods with no preservatives, low fat content, and low sugar. Back to you, Emily and Tracy.
The U.S. government and schools are working on an agreement on nutrition standards from the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act. According to the SALT on National Public Radio, the Senate Agriculture Committee has voted in support of a compromise that will ease operation challenges with the whole grain requirements and sodium limits. They will also allow schools the flexibility to provide menu items that appeal to their students. Sources report that the White House has signed off on the agreement and the bill may be taken up in the Senate in February.
That wraps up this edition of the Central News. Be sure to keep up on the latest restaurant and food service news at blog.centralrestaurant.com.
Thank you for joining us.
See you next time.